Thank you, Julia. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone that's joining online. As already introduced, my name is Lande Abudu, and I'm CEO of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. So most of what we do is, so obviously we have members who are involved in the renewable energy sector across various sectors, and I'll speak across various technologies. And I'll speak more to that when I'm going into the opportunities. But the Renewable Energy Association came together to try and make sure that we have an enabling environment to push the renewable energy agenda, so to speak. And as we know, and as Dr. Milia already alluded to, when we think about 18 million people that don't have access to energy, obviously something critical needs to be done. So both government is working in their own way. The Renewable Energy Association is working with government, development partners, and so many other people and stakeholders to ensure that we increase energy access in Nigeria. And that's one of the roles that I'm privileged to play. So I'm sure in the last 2 weeks thereabouts, if you haven't heard the words climate change, renewable energy, or carbon emissions, then you haven't been on planet Earth. Because COP26 is just finished, and that's literally the diet that we've been given for the last within the last month. In the lead up to it, during the actual conference, and now post COP26, we're talking about how are we going to achieve these targets. And so, I mean, I'm sure you all know anyway, but COP26 is like the World Cup of renewable energy. Everybody goes to COP. So this time around, you would have noticed perhaps that President Buhari made a commitment to reduce Nigeria's net emissions by 2060. So that gives us all the background. How are we going to achieve that? We need to increase the activities that we're doing, ramp up renewable energy, and what's that going to bring? It's going to bring even more job opportunities. So that's just one of the things. The other things there are quite a few things. So first of all, we have the overarching global goals. Everybody knows that we pledged as a country among 190 odd others to achieve SDG 7, which is to universal access for all by 2030. How close are we to it? That's a topic for another day. But in order to be able to get there, we're going to have to do the things that need to be done to ensure that we reduce energy poverty in Nigeria, and that will lead to opportunities, career opportunities, and various opportunities. So that's one, the global goal of SDG 7, which we need to achieve, universal access to all. So on the basis of that, federal government has its own vision 30-30-30, which we want to achieve 30 gig of generation by 2030, with 30% of it being renewables. So if we're going to achieve 30% of renewables by 2030, it stands to reason that we're going to ramp up what we already have. So that's number 2. Number 3 is probably part of why renewable energy is enjoying big focus right now. And the sector has grown immensely in the last decade. It's employing perhaps about 10 million odd people, I'd say. But it's growing and it's growing fast, and there's still a lot of opportunities within it. So, of course, at the start of the COVID pandemic, we all didn't know what was happening, but we needed to have adequate medical facilities for the sick. And the first thing that happened, we needed to power our isolation centers. The isolation centers, I'm happy to say actually that 5 Korean member companies were one of the first to power 24/7 the isolation centers in various geopolitical zones. So I think that brings it home to us that it's not just about turning on your light at home. It impacts healthcare, it impacts agriculture, and we need to feed, and we need to be well. And a well nation is a productive nation. So these are the things that are going to impact renewable energy ramp up in the next decade or so, and it really is building fast. So we have all of this, and then the pandemic hit, and I think everybody sat back and thought, hang on a sec, we can actually solve problems with renewable energy. Because before, being an oil-producing nation, I think we were all a little bit, it seemed like people like me would be speaking and they'd be thinking, these are new age people thinking of some new technology. Renewable energy just sounds good, and it's like a younger sister to fossil fuel. But I beg to differ. It's actually literally a subsector which we need to start thinking about and probably should exceed the fossil fuel deployment. So globally, everybody is making a change. COP26 has shown us countries are saying they're going to reduce emissions by this much. You would have noticed all around you that international oil companies are now becoming international energy companies. So Total is now Total Energies. BP is now BP Energies. So they're concentrating more on renewable energy. So Total, for instance, have pledged to solarize all their petrol stations in Nigeria by, I mean, I can get the exact date, but I think by next year, and they've already done about, 100 thereabouts, and it's a company that's going to do it. And that company happens to be a real member, so I can tell you more. So that right there is an opportunity. I mean, there are opportunities varying. You don't have to be a developer, but that's one of the things. You don't have to have a STEM background. You can fit in as an energy lawyer, energy consultant. So there's opportunities in the upstream. You can be an equipment importer. You can work in the ports, thereabouts. You can advise. You can be a consultant in the energy field. You can be in government, in the regulatory body. So these are things that are opening up. I mean, we know that there's a need to reduce energy poverty. We know that there's a need, and it's included in the economic sustainability plan, that we know there's a need to ramp up employment, especially among the youth, of which we have about 70%. So those two things should come together in a perfect storm and say, okay, look, these are the opportunities that we have in the renewable energy sector. So I can speak to perhaps the upstream sector and say that's the larger sector, the upstream renewable energy sector. Bigger players, utility, bringing in the stuff, that's the fuels and the equipment. And again, part of what the federal government has pledged is this is the decade of gas. So if we're saying this is the decade of gas, and that's the transition fuel, and energy transition is this big conversation we're having that's very important globally, that's another opportunity. So inside our economic sustainability plan, there's a big, this one I can speak to directly and it can correlate immediately. So there's a big initiative called the Solar Power Niger. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that. Have you heard about Solar Power Niger? No. Well, you have now. So it's part of the government's economic sustainability plan. That's recovery from the pandemic. And so CBN is going to fund 140 billion. They'll put 140 billion naira into Solar Power Niger. And the aim is to have, in 2 years' time max, to have 5 million solar connections, either mini-grid or solar home systems. And this is looking to create 250,000 jobs. So right there, direct and indirect, right there is an opportunity from renewable energy. Because you're going to need so many people all across the value chain. There's going to be energy lawyers that are going to be drafting the off-taker agreement for the mini-grids. There are going to be people who are going to be agents for the pay-as-you-go, the last mile distribution. You're going to have people who are going to import the system. We have some companies who are already doing assembling of solar panels, and we hope that the next stage, I mean, hope is not strong enough a word. Even in the plan says that we need to boost local content. So if you're going to access this fund from the CBN, you have to be committed to having 70% local content, which means that we want to keep the jobs in country. And again, as I said, if we're looking to create 250,000 jobs, that's the start right there. The first 100,000 deployments has actually occurred. So it's nice to think that we shouldn't be skeptical and think, okay, this government has come and said 5 million solar connections, how are they going to do it? For now, the commitment is there. As at the end of last year, the first 100,000 has been deployed with the first customer. So we're looking to say what the remaining will also be, and we really hope and pray that that deployment will continue to increase and there will be increased opportunities. So maybe the only other thing I can say that will help the ramping up of this, and this might speak to a younger demographic who are heavily into their technology, and we just heard about data science, and stuff like that. What's going to drive a lot of the growth is digitalization. Digitalization, technology, I mean, all the stuff that has fancy names. You hear blockchain, you hear Internet of Things. Broken down, these are things that we do simply already. So there's a space for everybody. So you can be in data science and you can still plug into the renewable energy sector. It doesn't have to be something that, oh, I'm going to have to go abroad to study renewable energy as my first degree to be able to plug into the sector. Not at all. I do have a STEM background. My first degree was in pure industrial chemistry, but I don't actually have a technical role in the role that I'm playing now. So you can be in the development sector. I'm obviously in social enterprise / non-government, but we then deal with advocacy, and I see all the fine grains in the developers and all the programs that they want to do. So I think it's just to say that there's a lot of space for everybody, very interests right across the board, technology-based, legal-based, regulatory-based, non-government, in government, and also as development partners, because we're also funded by development partners. Just ask that people reach out, find out more. We have a vibrant student membership at RIAN. If anybody would like to find out more, of course, they can contact the university. I'll leave my details with Dr. Nguyen, he already has them. So if anybody is interested and wants to know more, that's the start. So just educate yourself about what's available. There's loads happening in the space. It's huge. And in terms of power, there's what we call the REA's energizing education. So they go in and they seek solutions to power universities, obviously clean energy solutions. I'm sure Blaze is going to be approached or has been approached already, and that's an opportunity as well. So there's lots, and there's something for everybody to fit in. I think is the message I'd like to get across, that there's something for everybody in the renewable energy sector, that at the end of the day, we're all working towards one goal, which is to increase the electricity access in the country. Thank you. Any questions?
I just want to find out, there are cases whereby we see people converting pure water sachets to interlocks. So is there a certain skill you need to have, or is there any formula that prepares you to such kind of conversion in doing that? Because I've seen a lot of young people getting interested. They want to know how does it work, what is the formula and everything. Is there any tips you can give us?
The only thing I can say, I did hear about that. I heard about a couple of people that did that. One was in Ghana, I recall, and one was in Nigeria. I think they were just enthusiasts. So there was no rocket science that, oh, there's a formula that I can say this is what they did. However, we're always speaking to people like that, and we have an innovation, and we're always talking about how people can get into it. As I said, within the membership, we have forums, and you can then discuss with like minds. And as you mentioned, this is something that we need to go away and think, how do we plug into this that somebody did? Because we have loads of people who do various things. There's somebody, because people tend to think of renewable energy and think solar. It's beyond solar. There's somebody that powers his own house. It's just for his domestic use. He powers it with the organic waste in their house. So they do waste the energy. He just builds a crude digester by himself, and they use it to heat their water and for all their energy needs in the house. So there are people doing stuff. It's just about connecting. I hope that answers it somewhat. The truth is, I don't have a formula, but we can get in touch with as many people as possible to see what really prompted you to do it. Is there a way that you can pass on this knowledge?
My last question is, young person, do you have like a community that you help young people, maybe from school, from institutions, who are interested in the renewable energy, so that they can be able to have like a mentor, a guidance, like a hand-holding in preparing them to get that?
Okay, so that's a good question. So what we do right now, up till now, we have had it, we haven't been directly the ones, but our members sign up to be mentors. Some of them that are interested sign up to be mentors, and they do mentor. We do internships, and we do it with TIZ, and we do it with USA, and we place people in companies of our members, and then there's capacity building for them. to go into things. We also have a student membership, and we recently signed a couple of MOUs with 3 universities. That will be announced next year, so I won't say which names, but early next year, first quarter next year, there's going to be announcements, so we have the real movement for partnering with
Yeah, we've been interested to make that with you. Yeah. I would be happy to have that.
fantastic.
And even at a staff level, almost in fact statistics, most of our staff use generators.
Because I asked about this.
Yeah.
So there's a
We can put a fund, maybe we can get a grant, because by default, if every staff have access to electricity, it will improve the simplification of the service. Yeah, because earlier I know how we struggle here when we started base. When you are on chain, maybe you have a buffer bar, when you do the switch, you already lose about 20 minutes. And if you notice, while we are here, we had about 10, 15 chambers of emergency happen. That is the case, we can also improve services. So next, we can have something around the base, where staff can have access to clean energy. And if you have the funding, maybe, we would be happy to go through grant process, maybe discount of 20% or 30%. Everyone will be happy to, and to be a big fit, best university staff move away from around that.
So yeah, definitely happy to progress that conversation. It's something that can be done. Yes.
At such large scale, do you guys get to talk to manufacturers of solar panels, for instance? I know that there are different emission spectrum around the whole world. In the UK, for instance, the emission spectrum is different. In Africa here, Nigeria is different. They usually make these solar panels to shoot, more efficient frequency. So do you guys get to talk to them to, looking at this area and making solar panels that really work for the emissions that we have?
100% we do, but I mean, at the end of the day, if we make them ourselves, then we can make them to the spec that we want, and we haven't got to that stage, but we do talk to them about it. And part of what we do, as I said, apart from advocacy, is also ensuring standards of stuff that comes in or stuff that we use, especially for the consumers. So yes, we do. The UK is not even the biggest, in that field, really. So we speak to them globally. Even for wind, wind is not huge in Nigeria. We don't have the terrain for it, but we also speak to them about that. But essentially, I think I'm personally passionate about it, the local content thing, and that's what we're pushing, and that's one of the activities we did this year, and we took to government. And thankfully, this is embedded in the facility, so there's local content. So we just need to be able to make them ourselves. And if we can make them ourselves, then we can ensure the standards ourselves, and we can do it the way that we want to, that fits our environment.
Your advocacy will have partnership now on environmental education and environmental protection. But of course, we know renewable energy as of course is clean energy. One good, the other actually generates its own waste. Panel only and that is itself. So in your advocacy, you actually some form of environmental education. Like you mentioned, total review that there's a lot of pollution in the environment and turning into energy something that actually really renewable. And of course, you know that era of energy sector actually caused a lot of pollution, especially in Nigeria. Now, if we continue in this state of promoting renewable energy, that environmental impact of renewable energy waste. So my question is that you welcome partnership into environmental education, environmental protection, so that clean energy in some years to come back to not create some other form of problems for the environment.
100%. I mean, really, it's all about collaborations. Because I always say we can't do it alone. It's just like government. We can't say, government should just go and get vision 3030 actualized. They can put the vision in, and then we help with the strategy, and it's working together, and also with the finance people, so like a CBN. So collaboration is 100% what we do, we definitely don't have the capacity to do it alone. We're not even willing to do it alone. So that answers yes, 100% yes to collaboration. In terms of advocacy and what we have done and what we do it with partners, we do it with local partners, we do it with international partners, and part of the remit at RIAS is to create awareness. I mean, there's a whole communications department talking, speaking to creating awareness about renewable energy. So every quarter we have a forum and we discuss with the stakeholders. And I don't think there's hardly anything that RIAS does that we just go alone and we say we're advocating for this. We either work with the Ministry of Environment, Senate House Committee on Power, the development partners, various people, or the largest stakeholders. REA is a key partner, so that's how we work, really. And yes, we do try to create awareness and build capacity. And also just to pick up on the e-waste issue, this year we started, the stakeholder engagement on e-waste. Again, we say we want to deploy 5 million solar connections, and that's just as a one initiative. What happens to the sites and where N is the power of what, or the batteries and the storage system? We need to get rid of them responsibly. So we have actually started something on user active batteries. We have brought a publication out on the regulation that's classified by the Ministry of Environment, and we are now working on other e-waste, lithium-ion batteries and the like. So that's a critical conversation that we're well aware that we need to focus.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.